Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming over to Curator Conversations. I'm Jodie Nelson. I will be curating Bait Beyond an Inconvenient Truth here in Seattle with the group called Earth Creative. Today, I'm interviewing PaTan because she is part of our show. I'm so excited to have you here with us. And as we get started with this Curator Conversations, I am just so curious about your work and how you came about working with climate justice in your work and how your message is spread through your work. So to start with it, can you kind of give a moment or an impetus when you knew that you had to talk about the climate crisis and, kind of moving towards climate justice?
Well, actually, it started way long time ago. So I've always been passionate about animals and nature since I was in high school, college, and seeing how things are progressing and stuff. I've been doing this for a long time,
Now,
and so
tell
now
us.
that I have this group, Earth Creative, it's very important to me, and I'm so grateful to be part of this group so I can get the message out and help bring the awareness. So I've been actually doing this for a long time. It's just now it's in the highlight of the news all the time and everything. So for
Oh, yeah.
example, I have this book.
Fight for Survival, the
I've had
Audubon
this.
Perspectives.
I've had this book since high school.
Oh,
I
and
mean, and
so
that was 30 years ago.
and you've
Just putting
carried
an age
that
on
with
myself.
you. You've carried that around and made the move. It's always made the cut, is how I
Yeah,
like to say it. It's always made the
yeah,
cut.
yeah. So fast forward into the work that I'm doing now. It started with being a volunteer at Children's, and part of your job is to sanitize and put stuff away.
Okay.
Well, they said crayons go in the garbage. And I'm like, what? No, I don't think so. Because they were barely used, or we don't know if they used them or touched them, cough, sneeze, whatever. So we have to protect the kids with the low immune. And they said there's no way to sanitize them because the paper on them. So they go in the garbage. And I'm like, it was driving me crazy. I mean, brand new crayons. I mean, majority of them.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, can we put these in a box and next to the garbage and set them aside, and I'm going to figure out how to make art with them. Oh yeah, sure. So I started Googling crayon art. Everybody was doing the melting kind of thing. And so I got to do something outside the box. So no pun intended.
Ah,
So everybody's melting. And so I was like, I gotta do something that nobody's done. And I want to keep the crayons whole and organic as much as possible. So I started gluing them on top of each other, and then started breaking them, and then it kept evolving into applying them in different ways. And so over the years, I started getting boxes and boxes and boxes of crayons from Children's. I mean, thousands. And they actually had a meeting one time because they're seeing this going out the door, right? They're seeing this waste going out the door.
yeah.
And I'm starting to create these cool animal things with them. And they had a huge meeting, and they're like, how, right? And so they thought about going to just markers, but then that's a choking hazard with the caps. And it all came back down to, no, Children's is about acrylic crayons because they smell good, they feel good, they're organic. I mean, right? They're non-toxic. And so I was like, oh, shoot, right? I can still finish this project that I had in my head. So yeah, so over in 10 years, I built 15 pieces, but then 14 became this special series I made. So that's how that all came about. And I've never worked with these crayons before. So it was a trial and error in the beginning. And over the years, I just had mastered the craft, basically. And if you look at piece 1 to piece 14,
Yeah.
you can actually see that they got better. So
Now I love it when artists are like, I just knew it was done or it's complete. So what were your parameters for you to know or think that they got better?
Oh, I knew that I wanted to make each piece a little bit different, and I wanted to apply the crayons differently. So then I started crushing the crayons, or I started using the paper off the crayons because I was like throwing the paper away, and I'm like, wait, I can use that paper. So that's how I got the mane of like the wild Mustang piece I did, and people just went nuts when I started using the paper. Or in the coral reef, I used the paper. And so I just, so
You're
like when I got
D.
to the rhino I think is my best executed piece. And so because it has the pieces of crayon plus the crush on top to create the highlight and the depth and textures and stuff.
Yeah.
And I can remember when it was hanging in my wall in my studio, I could, you'd catch it out of the corner of my eye. He looked like he was going to turn his head and come right off the board.
I
I mean, so I
agree.
knew I
He
got
had
it right. I knew I got his expression, and I got it right. So, yeah.
I love that piece too, the rhino one. That one stuck out for me. The monarch also stuck out for me, probably because of the contrasting colors. And then of course the elephant, because I feel like some of my friends have an affinity with the elephant, so I always take a look around with the elephant imagery too. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're deconstructing the crayon. You're using every part of it, and then you're reassembling
Hmm.
the parts of the crayon to create a very layered composition.
Hmm.
And most of the time, if not all the time, you're doing animals or
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All animals are living things. I mean, the coral reef is
okay.
a little, but the coral reef is a living organism. So, you know, that kind of still applied.
Now,
But yeah, so I'm all about the animals that are struggling or endangered or threatened by our climate. And with the climate that's going in crisis, it's just, yeah, I got to keep going. I'm going to keep going.
you got to spread your message.
Yep.
Absolutely. So so you're sitting in your Seattle studio right now, and
Hmm.
behind you, I see a rhino. Is that a
That's
print
a print. That's a print. I had all the pieces professionally photographed so I could have prints for sale for people. So,
Okay.
so that's just a flat print you're
Okay.
seeing.
So yeah, is your piece that's going to be in bait, is that one for sale?
Yes.
The elephant. Okay. So you're an artist that does unique, one of a kind, and then you also have limited editions, it sounds like, with these prints.
Mhm.
Oh,
Right.
that's so fabulous. So tell us a little bit more about the prints. Are you doing open runs or do you have limited editions?
Yeah, so I'm only doing 100 of each. So they're
Oh,
and numbered prints. So I'm only doing 100 of each piece of the 14 that I did in this series, which is called Color Life Happy. Um, and the reason I came up with that name is
yeah.
because um, uh, the proceeds from the originals I wanted to give back because I got this free material. So I wanted to give back to children's. So they had asked me, well, where do you want your money to go? And I'm like, they wanted me to pick a department. So I had to like brainstorm and it just, I brainstormed with my sister and it just all of a sudden clicked that I was wanted to give back to the mental health of our youth. And this was before the pandemic, which was weird, or I guess meant to be, I should say, not weird. Because once the pandemic hit, we saw our kids struggling so bad, right,
Mm.
with mental health. And so it made me feel really good that that's the department I picked. So
Mhm.
some of the proceeds I did give back to children's. I gave them a chunk of money. And then I kind of switched gears. I switched entities. So now with the rest of the that are left of the series, I'm giving back to Youth Eastside Services for mental health. On the east side, they're a little bit smaller. They could use the funds more. Children's is so big that they get money from all over, which I found out
Yeah,
through the
Children's Hospital.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
now I'm working with Youth Eastside Services, and they're very appreciative of being getting a chunk of some of this stuff. So I make my money off the prints, basically. I make most of my
Okay.
money off the prints.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the rhino is striking because I can see it just in the little bit that we can see in the video, the lowlights and the highlights, because there is a lot of character developing and that has been developed rather.
Yeah.
And it was flat. And I was like, well, wait a second, what are we going to have for the show? And so I like hearing that, and you can, wow. And it's such a stark background. Is the original, the one of a kind, is it these prints are a direct photograph
Yep.
of, from the
Yep.
unique one? And
Yep.
is the rhino sold already?
Yeah. So that went into the Bellevue Art Museum's auction last summer.
Okay.
So, yep. So somebody actually has it in their home.
They're so
Yeah.
lucky. They are
Yeah.
so lucky. So where are we today? Do you still work at Children's and you still work with the kids and creating works of art and have the crayons donated, or where are you now?
Okay, so because of the pandemic, they couldn't have volunteers anymore,
I see,
right?
of course. Yeah.
And they haven't had hardly any back. So no, they haven't asked me back. I've talked to people from there that my friends and stuff, people that I've over the years, and they're like, no, they figured out a different way to do things, and there's hardly any volunteers anymore. It's so sad. So, and then Children's did go. They were talking about going to only 4 colors, like restaurants do,
I
in the little
see.
cellophane packs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's more garbage. That's I'm like, ugh. But yeah. So I haven't gotten word on where that is, but luckily for me, I still have probably 8 to 10,000 crayons in my studio. So I have enough to build 9 more pieces.
Wow.
Yeah,
You've really dialed the math in. Wow. In my head, I was like starting to do all that arithmetic.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I've decided that this next series, which will be Color Life Happy Part 2, um, they're all going to be 40 by 40. So they're all going to be on the same size panel. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to have them all coincide or connect with each other. I'm still kind of brainstorming on that concept. I kind of want to do like 3 water, 3 land, and 3 air animals.
Oh, cool.
And they're going to be more landscape or montage of a collection of animals in them. These ones, the first years, it's like the rhino head, the elephant head, you know. So they're going to be way different. This next series will be way different.
The creative mind is always working, isn't it?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a ton of questions actually that just kind of sparked from the conversation of you working with the kids and some being um, mentally ill. What is your, like, when you're working with them and you're working with the crayons, do you also, when you were able to work with them, were you also deconstructing the crayons with them and allowing them to be more creative, expressive? Or, I mean, every individual, I'm sure, was very different in their abilities and their sick time
Yeah,
while you were in
yeah,
there. But
yeah. So as a volunteer, no, I was there to do whatever they wanted to do. So the whole crayon and my art was completely separate. So I have a passion for kids, and I was a nanny for 20 years, and I've coached girls basketball for 20 years.
oh,
So
is that right?
I have a love for kids, so I just started volunteering for a positive outlet, and then it
Yeah.
led to these grants. So,
A love for basketball. Another one of our participants in Bait, Robin, she did a book on basketball hoops through America.
oh,
I'll have to send you that link. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, she went from Seattle all the way to Washington D.C. and all a bunch of states in between, and was even able to get into the White House to go
oh
see
wow.
the hoop there. And it wasn't that was part of the creative process along the way. I don't think she had plans. I don't think she had that appointment until the project went into the creativeness at that point. But
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'll have to send you that link. It's pretty cool too. Um, how'd you get to know Earth Creative? How did you get to know Christoph, or how'd you come to the group?
Another weird serendipity kind of moment, I
Of
guess.
course, of course.
So I was a caregiver for some folks, and um, George, who is on the board, who helped write up all the legal part of Earth Creative, he was
Oh,
helped with the estate of these people that I was taking care of. Well, these people passed away, and so in the end, when we had going through the will and all that kind of stuff, he said, "Hey, he got to know me over the years. He's like, I think you would be a perfect fit for Earth Creative." And so I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, I'll send you the link and, whatever. I'll email you. So he emailed me, and then he introduced me to Christoph. And then I got an interview with Christoph and Kathy next. And then I
Yes.
was accepted right in. And he's like, yeah, I think you're a total shoo-in. So it kind of was. So that made me feel really good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh. Yeah.
So it's very exciting to be part of this group. It's so much fun to meet artists from all over the world.
All over the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
This show is going to have 22 artists actually, with Brazil and Portugal involved. Yeah. I'll have to send out, have Christoph send up more of a link about everybody. Can we switch to, still talking about climate justice and your work? And I've been, I've been thinking about our title because it's Bait Beyond an Inconvenient Truth. And in 2006, we had the benchmark film release Beyond an Inconvenient Truth, which really set the standards and set the bar about climate crisis and where
Hmm.
we were then in 2006 with statistics and scientific data. And the other, so that was one way that I got to the title. I had a great conversation with Christoph, so that just re-instigated my passion for the title. But I also came to the title because I was thinking about the other side of the truths. Artists are always such the mirror into communities. They are the bridge right into the core of society. But what we haven't really talked about through all of this is how the artists are coming about to talk about it, is because what I've seen is you artists, us artists, are emotionally affected by some of these changes in the climate and changes all around us. It's like the emotional truths are something that we're not also, that we're just starting to begin in these conversations with these art objects, being able to be in front of them and experiencing them. Do you often have experiences where you're like, you're going outside, or you've changed geographies and you can feel the differences and like the psychological truths around the climate change?
Well, yeah, when we went through that heat wave 2 summers ago, and we had
Yeah.
the fires from all the forest fires, the smoke and the heat at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really tough, and I was constantly on my mind, like, is this how it is? I mean, this
Is
is
this
gonna
how it
happen.
is?
Oh,
That was almost our new normal here in the Pacific Northwest. We had
yeah,
3 summers in a row. I think we couldn't go outside in August,
yeah,
which
because the
is
smoke. Yeah,
in Seattle. That is like that's the time when everybody comes out, is August and September, July too, but mainly August and September.
yeah.
Yeah. I know a couple of the artists in the group were just like, it was such an emotional outbreak, really. Like they had to go in the studio and make art about it because it was happening right outside the door.
Yeah, yeah, those
Yeah.
are yeah.
That was tough. Well, I appreciate kind of you going along the roller coaster here of the questions and going up and down.
Oh,
I
that's
it was like, whoa, I'm having an emotional roller coaster here too. It is. It's hard. It's a triggering. It's a triggering topic, and I just commend you as an artist for wanting to talk about it. Especially
good.
with your in right in front of us with the animals too. So do you have I saw, where's been your favorite place? We'll end on a higher note here. But where has been like one of your favorite places that you've exhibited your work?
The Woodland Park Zoo.
I was hoping you were going to say that. I mean,
Yeah,
what a special time. So
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about that process?
yeah.
Like,
Okay, so before the pandemic, the whole idea of these 14 pieces was is that I was going to have it one big party, one big auction, and auction them all off in one event. Well, the pandemic hit, and that kind of went out the window. And so I had to rethink about, how am I going to get these pieces out there? And I reached out to the Woodland Park Zoo, and it was a perfect fit, and I was so blessed. I got to work with Sarah Valentine, and she gave me the Briar Oak Barn for the whole month of May, to showcase all 14 pieces. And in exchange, they got my tiger piece for their jungle party auction. So that was the trade. But they staffed it with security, and plus we had to have the social distancing, still then and all that. And so that was really, really fun to be part of that. And it was perfect with the animals, right? I mean, conversations constantly. And so, yeah, it was really special.
So you got to have your whole entire project installed and on view. Oh, okay.
Which was the first time. The first time.
Yeah.
These 14 pieces, they were complete. And so, yeah.
So is that how you work? You're working in like bigger projects. You don't necessarily do like one at a time.
This is the first time. This is the biggest thing I've ever done.
This is the biggest thing you've ever done. This is huge. Oh, I'm so happy to help be a part of this. And
yeah, I was a painter before. And I was just doing paintings. And I just, would have the studio art walks or whatever, and just, yeah, sell out of my studio. I've never showcased in a gallery before. I've been part of like, Artopia and street fairs and stuff like that. But I did get to show at Access Gallery though before the pandemic. They wanted to show my pieces because one of the gals had come to my studio on studio art walks and saw my stuff, and it fit perfect for what they were doing that year. And so I got to showcase 5 of the pieces in the gallery. That was the first time, and that was in the process of them getting this series done. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. So happy to have you. I mean, your work is, when I looked at it, it does make you raise an eye because you're so curious about what the material is. Because it is a little bit for me on a nostalgic level. And so then there's the memory, and just bring it in. And I do appreciate work with animals. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Like I'm still looking at your rhino like, might have to buy one of those. It's just so cool because you use so many colors, and they're quite active. Yeah, quite active. I'm excited for you. I'm so excited for you, and thank you so much for being part of the group and volunteering to help with the executing the experience part and the exhibition part. We'll talk more about those more details later, but God, thank you so much for today. And we'll see you a little bit later.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and doing this.
You're welcome. Wait, so we just died down, but now we're going to come back because she's got beautiful things in her studio. I need you to lift that back up again. Tell me more about that giraffe, because your passion just turned on. Come on. So this is in your studio. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I get the 14 of these animals I picked to get more awareness to people, because people have no idea what's going on. Like the giraffe. I mean, it says the last giraffe. Okay. People don't know that giraffes are being poached. They're on their way out. Well, people know about the rhino. That rhino's easy. The whole ivory thing with the elephants, and people kind of know about that. The crab piece that I did, people are like, why? How does the crab fit into this? I'm like, ocean fish acidification. I mean, I know when I eat crab does not taste the same to me anymore. The coral reef, people don't understand how the coral reefs are dying. And like with sunscreen, I mean, there's a whole thing, you can't wear certain sunscreens now in Hawaii because it's killing the coral reefs. So that's why I put the coral reef as one of my pieces.
I see.
The horse piece, which is actually tiled the wild Mustang. People don't know that we still have wild Mustangs in our country. and they're being rounded up and shipped for slaughter. And when people learn more about why that is, it goes back to climate, which is they want more land for cows and sheep, which are terrible for our climate, right? And they get overgrazed, and our wild mustangs also get rounded up for drilling and mining. So it's all a big, huge moneymaker, and it's a horrible thing that's going on in our country. So that a lot of times when people come into my studio and saw that the wild mustang piece, I got lots of conversations with that, and I'm one of those people who still read the newspaper, and I find anything that had to do with animals and climate, I'd cut out the articles, and I paste them all on my studio door on the outside of my studio. It'll make people stop and like read and like, oh, and then they start conversations start. And I love that about what I'm doing, because I know that I'm doing something important and that matters.
It matters. It does matter. Your voice does matter. And so do these animals that you're help creating a dialogue around. Are you finding that the people that you're talking with are in 100% agreement with you, or are you finding that they don't know some of the things that you're being able to share with them? Are you talking to any naysayers? I mean, what?
Oh, no, I don't. All of them have been, wow, really? Thank you. I didn't know that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you what.
I don't remember coming across anybody that said, there's no such thing as climate.
The artists are the bridge to the core of what's happening in society, all the way around. Well, I can't thank you enough for continuing the dialogue and sharing more about the climate crisis so we can have climate justice for all. Absolutely. And the Earth Creative Platform is there for all of us that believe in that message to continue to spread the love and to spread the knowledge, really. So thank you again.
You're welcome.